All eyes on this new update. Bertha now expecting to perhaps bring a bigger impact to some wind over the course of the next few hours. The alert's expanded as well.
Our team and teams, they're on the ground ahead of the landfall. We have Fox Weather senior correspondent Robert Ray. He's in Dauphin Island, Alabama, seeing those winds, some of the winds gusting close to 45, even 50 miles an hour for Robert. But let's begin with Fox Weather hurricane specialist Bryan Norcross. Looking at some of the newest data, I think everything's really on par, Bryan, with what we would expect, that slight increase in some forward motion.
Yeah, so it's jogged a little bit to the north. It's almost kind of a remnant of a tropical storm, but they're still measuring winds up around 45 or 50 miles an hour. But as far as the center goes, because that's what we track of this thing, this is up here. You see the way it's coming along. It's kind of jogged all around. Now it's jogged a little bit to the north. It's going to make landfall somewhere here around the Mississippi, Louisiana coast, somewhere in there here. That'll happen today. But the main question is what's going to happen with this down here, because this is the weather that's going to head toward Texas. And right now it's kind of nasty thunderstorms. And we'll talk a lot more about that in just 1 second. But let's look close up here. We still had 50-mile-an-hour winds, as you saw there. So look close up at this circulation, and you can see it kind of edging up in this direction. Remember, it's the center of the circulation. When that crosses the coast, that counts as landfall. In this case, it's not going to make any difference at all. Yes, you'll know if it happens in Mississippi or it happens somewhere in this extreme northeastern part of southeastern Louisiana. Wherever it happens, you'll know, because the wind direction will change such that it is, and it'll kind of go calm, because it's a big old wide sort of center of circulation. But there's just so little weather associated with it that it's not a big deal. The thunderstorms are down here to the south. There you can see, and you can see how kind of gray all these clouds are up there, because they're very, very low. If you get a shower, it's not a big shower because there's so much dry air up there. The strong winds are associated with these bands on the back side of the storm. So we still have some pretty strong winds along the coast here, all the way over to the Florida Panhandle. I'll show you that in more detail in a second. See, when we look at the radar, you can see there's some showers up in here, but notice there are no colors in the radar return, and that's up near the radar. So if there was anything kind of heavy going on, we would know about it. The heaviest stuff is down here in this little tail that's not too far from the mouth of the Mississippi there in Plaquemines Parish, and then also farther on south. As we look down here, then this is that big cluster of thunderstorms that we're going to take more of a look at here in just a second. But what's going on around the coast right now, here you can see, if you look over here in the Florida Panhandle, watch the reds kind of bulge up in there a little bit, even though Eglin Air Force Base, which is not far inland, is not recording much. Right at the coast, you may still have some winds up gusting to tropical storm strength, so they're keeping the tropical storm warning in effect there on around the coast, Louisiana. And here you see, look, gusting to 42, tropical storm force there at Dauphin Island, and 30, 31. So it's a gusty day right along the coast, but the rain is just not very much, because so much dry air has pushed on in. All right, let's take a look at the cone now. This is the brand new cone from the National Hurricane Center. And you see they're bringing it ashore and holding as a 45-mile-an-hour storm. Now, once it gets over southeastern Louisiana, the question is exactly what's going to happen to that circulation. A good part of that southeastern part of that state is very kind of marshy. There isn't certainly any terrain there to disrupt it. So how long will that circulation remain is a big open question. But in any case, the thinking is that the circulation is going to kind of collapse, and there's going to be some kind of a remnant or some kind of different system, whatever it is, that is going to move west toward Texas. And then here we go with the rest of that cone. You see the Hurricane Center is holding the strength at tropical storm force, 40 miles per hour, just tropical storm force, kind of moving over in the direction of Texas. Exactly in what form is an open question. And hang on just 1 second, and I'll show you what the specialized hurricane model has to say about that. But in any case, this circulation is likely to dissipate over southeastern Louisiana. When we look at the models here, we notice that here's the cone. See the cone here from the Hurricane Center is there. But notice a lot of the models come south of there because it gets really messy and complicated. The Google model goes right down the middle of the cone. That's the light blue one. And the consensus of all the main models is a little bit south because it's picking up on that cluster of thunderstorms south of Louisiana and kind of meshing these two circulations together. There's a mid-level circulation associated with the one to the south, and then we have the one that we've been following, the low-level circulation. So here's what the HAVS model. HAVS is the specialized hurricane model run by NOAA. We don't normally look at any one particular model, but this is representative of what could happen, and probably some version of this will happen whether there's a developed storm or not. So here we are, and here you see where the strongest winds are on the backside of the circulation, and some of them over here affecting Florida, the reds you see, and also southeastern Louisiana. So there's where we are right now. Also, we have this kind of tail down in here. It goes way down. Okay, now let's go forward in time and watch the time up here. So here we are this evening, say 7 p.m. Central, and we put a tropical storm symbol down here. It's not really a tropical storm at this point. It does have tropical storm force winds kind of around it, but this is more likely a mid-level circulation. So if you look at the circulation carefully, you see it's kind of a big broad thing. It kind of stretches out down to the south. So at this point, the Hurricane Center may say, okay, there's no real circulation anymore at the surface. We're just going to dissipate Bertha, but exactly how they're going to handle this, I don't know, because it really depends on what happens down here. So this model says that tomorrow, as we go to 7 a.m. Central Time, that we get something of a circulation here. So it's very weak near the center, you see, has this, but it does have tropical storm force winds out here. You see, these are strong gusts, and the red being the tropical storm force overall winds. These are all gusts we're talking about here, by the way, not sustained winds. And then we go on, and you see those winds come to the coast and weaken some. So I think what's going to happen here is that cluster down to the south is going to be a gusty center of winds. Whether it ever develops a surface circulation is another question, and it's going to kind of peak this afternoon into tonight, probably overnight tonight, and then as it moves west toward the coast, weaken in some fashion. The bottom line of all this is from Louisiana on down for a good part of the northern Texas coast there, going to be gusty winds moving in there tomorrow. Whether it's actually still Bertha or not, that's another question, whether we get really much of a surface circulation. This model shows a modest, maybe, surface circulation, but it does show the winds coming. So forgetting about the details of the meteorology, the weather looks like it's coming to Texas. A gusty day tomorrow with some showers moving in on bands, and some of those might be pretty heavy. All right, there's the way the rain forecast is at this point, but I don't know, this is all subject to change. There's that main cluster you see, but you also see it kind of dying out over in here as it kind of peters out some as it gets to the west, as it loses strength. So anyway, guys, that's the consensus right now. It's an unusual meteorological situation. It's going to be interesting to see how exactly the Hurricane Center frames this in terms of communications. Best chance is Bertha dissipates. This is a separate system with remnants of Bertha moving west, and they'll keep the warnings and so forth going as long as they think there'll be tropical storm force gusts at least along the coast.
It was one of the questions that Jane had brought up during break regarding the tropical storm watches.
What would they do with the alerts if Bertha dissipates?
Well, if it's a remnant, they can still keep the alerts up. It's technically what's called a post-tropical cyclone at that point. It's some kind of a thing that's going. So these days, and this is a post-Sandy, they can keep the alerts going if they think that the storm, if there's an entity that is still producing the winds. It's a matter because the entity, in order to be a tropical storm or a tropical depression, has to have a certain structure, at least loosely speaking, to it. But they can carry a remnant as long as it's a low pressure system that is moving to the west, and they can keep tropical storm watches, tropical storm warnings, and so forth going. And I think that's probably what they're going to do.
Yeah. I guess it's left to be seen too, Bryan, because I'm looking even at the QPF and the rain. We could have maybe Texas pick up some of the heaviest rain from this event, because with a circulation that changes, with already a cluster of storms there in the Gulf, perhaps the northern side of that circulation will have a bit more moisture to work with. Is that reasonable?
Yeah, it might, although the thing is that this is a really small circulation. This is a mesocyclone that's creating these thunderstorms, right? And so, it's got a whole development process that would have to go through, and I just don't think it's going to have time to do a whole lot. And as it gets farther west, I don't know that the atmospheric environment is necessarily going to be as conducive as it is when it has all this spin related to the tropical system where it is right now. So it has to develop, all on its own, kind of from scratch. Again, I think that's why we're seeing here on the rain, we're seeing the kind of less over here than over here. I think the thing just weakens as it moves on in time. But, we'll see. As we've seen, the models forecasts of these mid-level circulations that might come down to the surface and might develop, the timing on them is quite often inaccurate, and this one doesn't have much time.
Yeah, it's true. We were watching how a cluster of storms just off the Florida peninsula in the Gulf on a week ago today, Wednesday, with a slight chance of development, turned into by Friday or Saturday this tropical entity designated as an invest.
Right.
But that took 48 hours, and we're talking here from a timeline less than that. So time is of the essence.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, so this has got to happen tonight, really,
Yeah.
but not tonight into tomorrow. That's really all it has.
All right. Well, we will watch and see what occurs. We appreciate the analysis once again. Fox Weather Hurricane Specialist Bryan Norcross for us. Thanks, Bryan.